Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a whole load of information and, really boil it down to the key insights you need to, genuinely level up your understanding. So if you feel ready to move past the fundamentals, maybe become more of a strategist in your field, you're definitely in the right place. Today, we're really getting into the world of advanced performance management, APM. We'll be exploring how it builds on that foundation of performance management, or PM. Think of it like moving from knowing how to use the tools to being the person who designs the whole system, right? Making sure everything fits the big picture.
Exactly. Our mission really is to distill what APM is truly about, what specific knowledge from PM is essential for making that jump, and crucially, how the skills you need change quite dramatically, actually, when you move to this advanced level. We want to give you a clear roadmap, maybe highlight some of those aha moments where it all clicks.
And guiding us, we've got some really solid source materials, a deep look at the APM qualification, how it relates to PM, full of specifics that should make this transition clearer. Okay, so let's start there. The big question: what is advanced performance management? APM, how is it really different from the PM maybe you already know?
Well, what's interesting is that APM isn't just, doing PM, but harder. It's about looking closely at the whole range, the whole ecosystem of performance management systems organizations use, how they plan things, control activities, and hopefully succeed. And yes, that definitely includes familiar stuff like budgeting, variance analysis, balanced scorecards, all that. But it also brings in other critical things like remuneration schemes. How do you design pay and bonuses to really motivate people towards the company's goals? That's key. And here's where it gets really strategic. APM introduces more models, things beyond what PM covers. We're talking about things like, say, value-based models. These push you to think beyond just profit this year, towards driving genuine long-term value for shareholders. And strategic models like the performance pyramid, that's a great way to visually link what people do every day right up to the top-level strategy. These aren't just tools, they're different ways of seeing the business.
So it's definitely not just about knowing how to use the techniques anymore, is it? Sounds much more like advising on which ones to use and why.
That's it, exactly. A huge difference in APM is being able to advise which systems are right for this specific organization. You have to understand that every company is different. They have unique needs. Your job becomes figuring out the factors that, determine what management accounting info they need, and then what systems will deliver that. It's about tailoring the solution.
And you mentioned something less tangible as well, beyond just the numbers.
Oh, absolutely. APM gets into a much more detailed discussion of the qualitative side of performance management. So it's not just knowing what a balanced scorecard is. It's about evaluating its use in a specific, messy, real-world situation. You're judging how effective it is, where the problems might be, maybe suggesting changes. It's much more about applying judgment than just recalling facts.
Right. Okay, so APM clearly builds on PM. You're not starting completely fresh. So for you listening, making that jump, what are the absolute must-knows from PM? What's the bedrock you need for APM?
Well, the examining team generally won't test basic PM topics again in lots of detail unless they're specifically mentioned again in the APM syllabus. But honestly, having a really good grip on the whole PM syllabus before you even start studying APM, that is highly advisable. It just makes everything make more sense.
Makes total sense. You can't build the second floor without the first being solid. So, okay, cornerstone PM topics. What should you definitely feel comfortable with before tackling APM?
Okay, broadly, I'd say think about three main areas from PM. First, your foundational costing and management accounting techniques. Things like activity-based costing, target costing, lifecycle costing, even environmental management accounting. In APM, you're not just calculating these. They become the basis for strategic decisions, for driving things like activity-based management, using that cost info to actually improve how things are done.
So see the strategy behind the tool, not just how to use the tool itself.
Precisely. Then, second, your understanding of budgeting and variance analysis. Super crucial. In PM, you learned how to, put a budget together, calculate the variances. Fine. In APM, though, the focus shifts. You're asking, are these budgets actually useful for this company right now? Which type of budget, maybe a rolling budget, maybe zero-based, is best for their specific situation, their goals? You'll still need to calculate variances sometimes, particularly ones that flag up strategic problems, but it's more about judging if they're telling you anything useful. And tied into that, standard costing and variance analysis from PM. They're still core tools. You'll need to discuss how useful they are in specific scenarios, evaluate if they're giving managers the right information for making decisions.
That feels like a big shift. From just doing it to asking, should we even be doing it this way? What about decision-making stuff?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Decision-making comes up quite often in APM, and often you'll need calculations to back up your evaluation of strategic choices. So your grasp of relevant costing principles, knowing which costs actually matter for this decision, that's absolutely vital. Having a basic handle on CVP analysis, cost, volume, profit, especially calculating break-even, that's useful too. It's less about drawing the charts, more about understanding how costs behave and how that affects choices. And remember limiting factors. That PM topic about making the most of scarce resources, well, that now feeds directly into trickier areas like transfer pricing. That's all about how different bits of a big company charge each other. And those internal prices, they can seriously drive or mess up the overall company strategy. You should know how to handle basic limited factor problems, but no, don't worry about complex linear programming. And pricing. Well, it isn't a massive standalone topic in APM, but they do expect you to be able to work out a simple cost plus price. Plus, knowing about practical pricing strategies is helpful, especially when you're talking about transfer pricing again. And one more thing, risk and uncertainty from PM, really important for control. Key ideas like expected values, maximax, maximin, minimax regret, sensitivity analysis. You likely won't do heavy calculations, but you really need to understand what these methods are, how they work, and how they connect to how much risk an organization is willing to take. And then, of course, performance measurement and control itself from PM sections E1 to E4. This is absolutely core to APM. APM takes these ideas much further, brings in new techniques like value-based management, economic value-added EVA, which looks at true economic profit, and that performance pyramid we mentioned. A lot of the basic learning outcomes from PM in this area are actually repeated in the APM syllabus, so you build right on top of them.
Okay, this is where I think the deep dive gets really interesting for you listening. It's clearly not just about learning more stuff. It feels like a fundamental change in how you're expected to use what you know.
That raises a really important point, doesn't it? What skills is APM actually testing? It's a strategic professional exam. That means you're expected to show the kind of skills you'd need working as, say, a senior advisor or a consultant. It's a significant step up from what PM required.
So what does that look like day to day, or rather exam to exam? What's the biggest practical difference you should be ready for?
Well, in PM, you were often applying techniques to shorter scenarios, right? Maybe calculating some material variances or looking at some variances someone else calculated and saying what they mean for a manager. The problems were usually quite contained. In APM questions, particularly the big Section A question, you're dealing with much longer, much more practical, realistic scenarios, lots more information. The examiner's really testing, can you apply what you know? Can you sift through all this information? And crucially, can you pick out the most important issues within that messy, complex situation?
So it's like real life then, where problems aren't neatly packaged into subject areas. The challenge and the value is seeing how it all connects.
Exactly that. An APM question will often weave together several different parts of the syllabus. You just can't think about each topic in its own little box anymore. You have to appreciate how they're all linked, how a decision here affects performance over there, just like it happens in a real business. And the fact that there are 20 marks for professional skills in APM really underlines this advisory role. You've got to show you have the right depth of knowledge, yes, but also apply it cleverly to the scenario, give you mean evaluations, solid advice on the key problems, and always justify your recommendations or conclusions. Developing that whole approach, moving from just applying skills to thinking and acting like a strategic professional, that's absolutely vital for passing APM.
So today, we've really tried to unpack what that step up to advanced performance management actually means. It's clearly about building on your PM foundations, yes, but more importantly, it's about fundamentally shifting how you think, moving from applying techniques almost mechanically to becoming that strategic advisor, connecting the dots, thinking critically, seeing the whole picture in complex, real-world type situations.
Yeah, and to really boost your chances of success, it's not just about hitting the books, is it? It helps to read around the subject, definitely practice those past exam questions, but also consciously work on developing those professional skills, the analysis, the judgment, the advisory skills. You have to sort of embrace becoming that strategic professional.
So maybe as you reflect on this deep dive, here's a thought. How might applying this strategic professional mindset, looking beyond the individual pieces to see how they lock together, change how you approach learning any complex new subject?
Yeah.
See, not just the parts, but the whole system and your role within it, not just as a technician, but as an advisor.